guys? The offensive madman Kyle Robinson coming to you today. And if you've tuned in looking for the typical Monday Let's Play that has been Spider-Man for the last few weeks, fear not, as Spider-Man will be making his triumphant return tomorrow at noon. But in the meantime, I felt the need to develop and produce a Warframe review. Now, if you followed my channel for any length of time, you know my love of the game Warframe. In fact, this game is the reason that I started streaming and creating videos a little over a year ago. And as such, with the drop of the new war, the story expansion that DE dropped about 4 days ago, give or take 4 or 5 days ago, I wanted to sit down and give an honest feedback review, as I did complete it a couple days ago. I let it marinate, let it sit for a couple of days. I wanted to really, give that time to marinate, because I love what they did. I totally forgot that was there. But so if you're watching this, I'm gonna try not to give spoilers, but it's gonna be hard to play this game and not give some spoilers, which if you were paying attention, you caught one. Don't go back and look though, please. I will be sad. So let's get started. First off, if you're new to Warframe and you're asking yourself, what the fuck is the new war? This is by far the most anticipated update probably in Warframe history, making its debut almost 3.5 years ago at TennoCon 2018 in a cinematic video. And then the developers, to the community's thought process, were shelving it, and that wasn't the case. But with COVID, the pandemic, and everything else, they found themselves kind of on the losing end of the development cycle, and were now asking themselves, how do we make this game mode and this thing work? It was promised to be the biggest content update to date. If I'm being honest, 100% is the biggest content update to date as far as story content and everything else goes. So that's exactly what the new war is. I would recommend you do a little bit of reading if you're wondering what the story of Warframe is, because the story is very convoluted of Warframe. No doubt about that. But this was the story update everybody wanted, and now everybody has. So that brings me to my next section of the review, answering the one question: why is the new war as important to Warframe players as it is? And the answer to that question comes in a variety of ways. But the biggest one of those is it brings closure to a story that began all the way back as part of the Second Dream quest. We, as a collective, really wanted to see where that story went. And as the story progressed, we had more questions than answers, which is never bad, but the amount of time that it took us to get here really left a lot of players wanting to know what was next. They also wanted closure to the storyline involving Space Mom, aka Lotus. She really stole a lot of people's hearts, as it were, and this story asked a lot of questions of her and what would happen to her in the end. So this story kind of gave a nice finish to that, if you will. And the last major reason that everybody really wanted to know more about this quest and where this was going is because those people who follow the story and follow the lore of Warframe really, really like what this story is and the lore is of the game. And because of that, they want more. And this story, this quest line promised to be a lore dump if there was one, and it was definitely fleshing out a lot of things correctly. But before I get ahead of myself, let's go ahead and analyze the cons. And I say I'm gonna start with the cons first, only because I think there are less cons to this update than there are pros. So I really want to start with the cons first, and then we'll jump into the pros. If you've watched any of my other reviews, then you'll know that we're already doing this a little bit different. I'm not going to break this review down into 3 scores. There's going to be one basic score that will be given out at the very end. With that, let's go ahead. We'll jump right into the cons section of what this is. The first one is maybe a little nitpicky. Maybe a little nitpicky. But I think that the character development of some of the characters, and for those people who might be watching this who have played it, may know who I'm talking about, felt a little rushed and a little confusing toward the end of the quest line. As you reached the end, there were a lot of times where a lot of things made sense, but as you reached the very end, then there was one moment where I myself went, wait, damn, that was just a quick side jump for some odd reason. And they tried to flesh it out, and I get it, but at the same time, it left a lot of questions as to why they made that jump so quickly. I wasn't real fond of that. That's probably my biggest complaint, was just that one moment where we had to sit here and ask ourselves, why did we make this jump so fast? And that was one of the big ones. The other big con for this update is that if you've seen the story trailer for the game or for this update, then you'll know that at the end, or at the very beginning, there's an attack on Cetus, which is the first open world in the game. And the open world, once you're finished, seems to have no lasting effects as of yet. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't do something later, but if you were to sit right now and ask the question, what is the lasting effects of this? The answer to that right now is really not a lot of anything. There are a couple of cosmetics, and we'll get into those. But past that, there are really no major differences to the world as a whole before playing the new war. So that's kind of hit or miss depending on how you look at it. It's really kind of how you interpret it. And for me, I'm not a fan of the fact that there are no real consequences toward the end. The last con is that once the quest is over, other than farming out the new Warframe, which I want, don't get me wrong, there isn't a lot left. And some people might jump at me and be like, oh, well, you know, was that not enough? And it was. I'm not saying it wasn't, but I do also believe that there is a weird balance and a weird delicate balance that you have to be willing to and able to walk to kind of fit into that world and give yourself both content after the fact and content during the fact. And I think they did okay with during, but after, it's, again, once you're done with the story quest, short of playing the game and grinding out the new frame, or if you have other stuff to do because you've been away from the game like I have, then there really isn't a lot there. And that's kind of saddens me, because a lot of the content updates up till this point with the open worlds and stuff like that at least gave you a reason to come back. Whereas this update right now, short of, like I said, grinding out the main Warframe that comes with the kit, you don't really have that. And that's a disheartening thing to me. That's the bad, or cons, however you want to look at it. So let's talk good. And like I said, there are way more good than bad. The first thing is good. Lord, this was probably the best developed story / expansion of just about any game I've played, let alone Warframe. Every new weapon that you got a hold of felt good, felt different, felt like it should feel. Every boss fight that you had, and there were a total of, you know what, I'm not even going to say how many there were, but each boss fight felt different. The mechanics felt different. All the way up through the final boss fight, it felt like everything that you did was different. And that's not something that you get in every game, and that's nice. Especially with a game that's been around as long as Warframe has and has done as many different systems as Warframe has done. You know, the next good thing is that this story of the new war, what in the hell kind of glitch is happening here? What did I do? Okay, there we go. Jesus Christ, that was weird. The story ties a lot of loose ends. So that, if he again goes back to the lore of the war world and kind of why everyone really wanted the new war in the first place, it was because this tied a lot of the world together, a lot of the lore together, and really tied a lot of loose ends that we as players have really been fishing around for the last number of years. The last major con, or major pro, I'm sorry, that your changes, some of the changes and some of the choices you made stick with you in the game. And one of them, again, you'll notice if you're watching this video, if you pay close attention, you'll see what I'm talking about. That's the only hint I'm going to give you. There is one other one. It's a cool thing, and it changes nothing about the core gameplay, but it's a cosmetic change that's kind of a neat, just a neat nod to players who have spent all these hours playing this game, farming this story, and really enjoying everything up to this point. And they explain each of the cosmetic changes in a way that doesn't leave you going, well, why the fuck am I doing that? So that's, again, probably, at least on a surface level, a really good thing to me. A really good thing. So there are your cons, there are your pros. So what are my final thoughts on the new war? And I will be honest, I was very hesitant to play the new war, and I only say that because when they announced crossplay earlier this year, I told myself I wasn't coming back until crossplay was a thing. And then I thought about it and told myself that, you know what, I'd been waiting this long, I really wanted this story, I wanted to play this story, so I did, and I do not regret it at all. This is definitely a launching point for this game. It's a turning point, if you will, for this game from a story perspective, if they can build off the momentum that they have earned with this new war expansion. If you're a new player, this is definitely a good time to get in, because that storyline that we have waited on now is complete and allows you to play it in its entirety all the way through, which doesn't give blue balls the way that it has for some of us. So from a score perspective, and we're not going to flash cards on the screen this time around, and it's only because I really want you guys to, I want you to experience this. Like, honestly, that's my big thing. I want you to experience this. Me, as a Warframe player of well over 500 hours between both console and PC, I'm going to give it an 8.5, because while it had a lot of pros, it did have those few drawbacks that I spoke of. And I hope DE takes this expansion and uses it as the measuring stick for everything they do, at least in the way that the game feels. Some of their expansions in the past, the open worlds, while they've been pretty, have had their haphazard issues. I think mechanically this update was almost as perfect as DE could make it. And that's really kind of what matters in a game like Warframe. So 8.5 is where I rank this. If you have any interest in Warframe, now's the time to do it. I think that DE is really good about doing good work on top of good work. And I think that the overall positive feel of what this update was really brings a lot to the table and where we can go next. And I think that if you're somebody that's been on the fence about Warframe, now is the time to do it. There you have my new war review in a nutshell. This is the first of some possibly planned Warframe videos. So this isn't just a one-off. If you followed my YouTube channel, you also know that I have some other videos up there Warframe related. We might be doing some more Warframe related videos in the future, just because I enjoy the game enough to want to do some videos. So if you like the idea of doing more Warframe content, why don't you give it a thumbs up? I'd love to see your comments below. Have you played the new war? If you have, what are your thoughts on the new war? Do me a favor, try to keep it spoiler free, because that's kind of what I was trying to do. So keep it spoiler free if you're talking in the comments about what the game is or what you feel about the new war, things like that. But I would love to hear that discussion. We also have the Warframe Lounge in the Coalition of Madmen Discord. Would love to have you there. But yes, if you have a Discord, jump into the Coalition of Madmen. That link is in the description above and below this video, depending on where you found it. And we would love to have you there to kind of talk new war, Warframe. We've got a build section, a few other things that may get fleshed out a little more as some of us get back into this game. With all that, I want to say thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you guys for commenting if you do. And be sure to join me in my next stream, which will be tomorrow. I lied. It'll be on Wednesday. Wednesday, we will be back at 4 p.m. Central. So be sure to join us there. We stream usually every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That schedule is also up above. Would love to have you in the Facebook chat or Twitch, wherever your social media of choice is. So till next time, ladies and gentlemen, I am the Offensive Madman, reminding you once again that if words offend you, you can fuck off.